what do we need in such an operating system? Software. We need first interface. Not first, anyway, interface. Interface is one of the important characteristics, the role of the operating system. So user would like to use the hardware. We have the hardware. Okay. Then we should know each and every the details, the data structure of the hardware, which is not possible. So we need something in between. Half of operating system. So operating system is in charge of such an interface between user and the hardware. Specifically, it is the front and the point to where the user can directly use the as an input or the output. So that is the interface. So you know there are two main types of the interface operating system. One is graphical user interface and command line. We are saying the command line, the interface. So command line interface, what are the examples of such a command line interface?
DOS.
DOS. Yes, DOS is the command line interface. Question. CMD is a command line interface or not?
No.
Yes? No?
Yes. DOS has been made as.
Yeah. It's similar as the DOS. Once the Microsoft gave up the MS-DOS. By the way, why Microsoft gave up the MS-DOS? Anyone? It's the 95, 98, Microsoft gave up to support the MS-DOS. They took out the MS-DOS from the Windows. Actually, Bill Gates started the first Windows operating system from MS-DOS in his garage, right? Then he added Windows, one of the huge change of the interface. Not only just the interface, graphical user interface, this changed a lot. Okay, everything, architecture and everything. But at the time, the Bill Gates used MS-DOS as well as Windows operating system also. So inside this, actually there exists MS-DOS, which means there are two professors in the same classroom, or the king, or the two fathers in the family. It will be problem. Definitely, this was the messed up. Okay, that caused a huge problem. So Microsoft gave up for this. Instead, people are at the time familiar with the command line interface also. So instead of MS-DOS, they provide command CMD. It's the same. Looks like the same interface, but actually this is not the interface of the operating system. This is the interface of what? Application program. Okay, you can use the command line. So you can type notepad, then it will notepad will be pop-up. However, MS-DOS is the interface of the operating system. Operating system what? Windows operating system? No. DOS, MS-DOS is the operating system, which means you can create the process using MS-DOS as well as Windows. Okay, that causes the problem. Two different ways to create the problem. But CMD actually interface of this one. So that's the difference. So we cannot say this is a really operating system interface. It's a mimic. There's such a thing. For those who are familiar with the command, that is a command line interface. So also used for many of the graphical user interface operating system. Think about the macOS. So does the Apple gave up the command line interface once they adapt the Aqua. Aqua is the name of the graphical user interface in the Macintosh. So once they adapt, so they give up the command line interface. No, actually still exists. So you can still using the terminal. You can still use the operating system. So that use the shell program. So what is a shell program? Let's go back to the I think the last week I mentioned about this kind of thing. What is this? Kernel process ID, right? And the system process and process. This is called the process tree. So we will see details how the operating system creates such a process tree and manage. Then, when you use any operating system, you are going to start from here. No, your process will be also created by one of the terminal process and process. That and process is called the shell program. There are many different ways. So most of the such a shell program, shell terminal program is a command line interface, like the C shell, corn shell, bash shell, something shell, what really shell, SH. So you heard about the command. This is a program, this is a terminal program. It's the and terminal interface. Through this interface, you are going to use the operating system and the computer business through using the operating system. So that is a shell program. And also, this is not just command. Like you probably heard about in the DOS. This is similar as the DOS. dir is the command to list of the file, for example. In the shell programming, you can use the ls. It's the same type of command but different name used in this kind of shell program. So it's just not only execution of the command plus you can do programming work. Because of that, it's called the shell programming. Okay? So if you are interested in the system programming or the more advanced level of the operating system, once you finish this class, you can take the Unix programming offered by the Professor Abdul Shakur. So you can take the Unix programming. In the Unix programming, you will learn details about this one. Okay, it's not just using how to use the operating system, the interface, but also it needs something programming level. So in this class, in this semester, you will learn very basic interface of such a shell programming using the bash shell and the C shell, either of them. Sometimes the people like this one, but we will cover the very basic shell program of this one. This is the interface level using the command line. Then plus we have the very nice graphical user interface nowadays, especially the map. By the way, so it was 1982 when I used the personal computer first time. It was a very long time ago. Then actually I lost my interest using computer at the time. Then I didn't use a lot. Then once I joined the college, I actually not joined. It's 1992, I think the 92, 93. So 93. So at that time, I joined in my hometown. The military service is compulsory, mandatory for 2 years. So I joined the army for 2 years at the time. In the camp, military camp, the people were crazy to use the Windows at the time. Windows 3.1 was announced, so I didn't have a lot of chance to use the 3.1 Windows. So, but it shows that I have seen only the command line 10 years ago at the time, but it looks like the blue and something the box, and I can move the arrow. So it is the first graphical user interface for the Windows. However, that was not first time. There were the graphical user interface. From the IBM also developed the operating system. The personal computer operating system, IBM also has such the graphical user interface. But I didn't have a lot of interest for that. I didn't use the computer. But when I had the chance to visit the University of Hawaii in 1995, so I have a chance to stay with the dormitory. So before I started my first job in the university, UH. Then my roommate used the Macintosh. Then he played every night, every time, the SimCity. Then he shows something very, very nice, the pastel tone, the interface of the Mac, which is the Aqua. So it's totally different from, I didn't have interest using the Windows. It was the nice, but it's not very attractive, the graphic. But when I used Aqua 1994-5, first time when I saw it, it was, it's not much different from the current interface, right? That is one of the way to keep the same customer. But in Apple, they didn't change it a lot. Instead, they tried to keep the same characteristic. So that is the graphical user interface. So which one will be popular? We cannot say which one is popular, but not only just the graphical user interface. If you have a chance to join any project or the IT department, if you want to survive the IT area, I strongly suggest to be familiar with the command line interface. Not at least one of the shared programming environment. So also not only just the Microsoft Word editor. So we have the command line based editor like the Emacs or VI. Also in this exercise, you will learn how to use the VI editor. I know some of the students don't like to use such the command line based the editor, but still a lot of the project, especially project manager, they prefer the command line interfaces. So you should be able to use such the command line. That is an interface. Okay, so interface is one of the important components of the architecture of the operating system. What else in between?
Graphical user interface is better than the command line, right? So why do people prefer?
So her question is the graphical user interface is better.
I mean, it's easier to use.
Easier to use.
Then
That's the benefit.
Yes, then why do people prefer to use?
Then
It's faster.
faster. What happens when you double click the icon or the icon in the graphical user interface? What happens? The icon has the information, the full path of the location of the executable file, which means anyway, so such a graphical user interface is not for better performance. That's not purpose. Instead, easy to use and better so just the presentation, right? Okay, it's not main purpose. The main purpose is not the performance or optimization. Instead, eventually you will create the process going to the full path of such an executable file, and also not much flexible. Each command has a bunch of parameter input argument. You cannot utilize. So you will realize that the application program or command, they have the 2, 3, sometimes 10 pages of the instruction, readme file. Okay, you cannot utilize such all the options. Okay, so that is the reason. We cannot say the graphical user interface is not better than this one, but depending on the purpose. If you are using operating system only for the watching video, you don't need this kind of thing. But using yesterday, I used the VLC command. VLC. Anyone who used the VLC? A lot, right? This is one of the popular video player. So when I watch the movie, I'm using the graphical user interface. But for my research purpose, I need to extract the image frames from a video. Okay. If I click, you can do that, capture every time. Okay, I click. But if you are using the VLC command line, okay, using the command line, if you type the VLC and the argument, then it can be just one time enter. Then extract all the frames from a 2 hours video. Okay. So at the time, this one is much flexible. So it depends, I believe. Okay. Then what else? The interface. So what is the definition of the operating system?
Controls and coordinators.
What? Hardware. So it provides, on top of hardware, it provides all the interface between the hardware and the resource. It has a resource allocator, resource control, and resource coordinator, the module in between. And also, the user would like to use such a hardware from the app through the interface application, use this one. But as we discussed before, most of the operating systems support the dual mode. So dual mode means the operating system, the kernel is in charge of to handle such a hardware. So to do that, there is another layer of the operating system, which is called system code, or sometimes it's a library. What is the API in your program language? Application Programming Interface. Do you know each and details of the how system? What is the system in Java? This is a class. Okay. Class is a capital letter. Okay. System out and print ln, something like that. Do you know each and details of the how the system, the class is developed?
No.
Nobody checks. Okay. Instead, we just take a look at interface. What of the method operation are implemented? What is the argument? What is the signature? Then, depending on your signature, the specific structure will be used to create the object, something like that. So, similarly, in the operating system, each and every operating system provides such a something library for user application to access hardware. This is called the system code, or sometimes system library. This is a system API. So in your programming, so you don't have to implement, you don't have to check the details of the standard of your hardware. Instead, just check a number of system library, then what is the parameter value. Then that's it. So this system code and system library are mostly C or C++, or Object-C in case of the iOS. Okay? Then you don't have to worry about this part, but you can just use this. So if you are using this system code and library, this is called the Unix program. Many of the time you don't use the system library, system code directly. Why? Your program language also provide API that use this one. This is a little bit low level. Okay, sometimes it's not easy directly to use. You need to understand a little bit about the hardware. It's not complicated, but first time it's not easy. Okay, most of the system programming are very simple, but still a little bit struggling. Instead, your program language provide the API that also implement this. So, in your project 1, you are going to create the process. For example, Java already provide the thread to create a new project instead of a process. Java use the thread. So, but you cannot get the experience of using such a system library. Okay? So that is the reason I do not allow the Java programming. If you read carefully Project 0, the description, instead I ask you to use the other C++ or other program languages that the pretend system library. I will explain a little bit more to create the process explicitly. Okay. So that is the overview of the operating system. So we will see throughout the semester the details of the such a component. Okay. So let's go back to our slide. So this is our. Oh, one more thing is in the. One of the main job of the, as we have discussed a lot, one of the main job of operating system is the process. So operating system should be able to create the process through the program. How? Using system library. Most of the such operation can be done, implemented by using the system library. So these are the list of the services that can that the operating system can provide. Okay? File system manipulation and communication. Since we have the multiple processes in one operating system, in case of those how many processes can you create? MS-DOS. It's only one. Okay. It's also operating system, even though there is just only one process, one job, single job process. This is the operating system. But nowadays, most of operating systems create multiple processes. Sometimes they are working together, okay, or they are related to perform the certain task. So they should be able to communicate. Okay. Regarding to the communication, operating system should provide the way how to communicate. That is called the inter-process communication, IPC. Okay? So, to implement the IPC, there are different ways. We will see details in chapter 3. Okay? And socket is a client server, is one of the way, but there are more. So, that is the communication provided by the operating system. Obviously, the operating system should be able to handle the error. Error is not the problem always. Intentionally, the operating system uses such an error condition to manage to better performance. Sometimes the operating system ignores the error. Okay? For example, in this classroom, for perfect the situation of the classroom, so I need to take care whether this student like this student or not. I'm taking care of everything happen in this classroom. That will be perfect if I can do that. But if I spend most of the time in the classroom to check whether you have a problem, you have not, then I cannot do my main job for the lecture. So instead, I believe that all of you then ignore even though something happened, fighting each other, so it's your problem. So operating system is doing the same thing. Operating system cannot take care of all the situation happen in the system. Instead, ignore the problem a lot. Okay? And sometimes detect just inform to the user or just low. Then do nothing. Okay? For better performance. If the operating system take care of everything, it cannot be the better performance. So we will see such an example later. Okay? One of the example is the deadlock. So what is the deadlock? It's a locking, but cannot be solved, right? Waiting each other. Operating system actually does not handle that situation. Instead, just leave it. Because of that, you are using Control-C a lot, right? So the reason why we Control-C is what? It's a copy. Not that copy and paste. Control-C is the interrupt signal to the application. So interrupt, then stop something like the infinity loop. If you have the infinity loop, it's something error. Okay? So Control-C and stop the current operation. And similarly, in case of deadlock is error. It's a huge error, but the operating system does not do anything. Instead, just leave it, and if you cannot, if you find from the application point of view, then you can Control-C or stop, send the termination signal. So that's one of the examples. So operating system detect the error, but not always take care. the situation. There are more. So we have seen in the definition of the operating system, like the resource allocation and so on. What is accounting? I'm not sure how many of you are returning filing the tax return. So in case if you need to file the tax return, you need to go to the CPA. Okay, CPA is the accountant. So what is account? In this the part of the operating system. One of the job of the operating system is a resource coordinator. Okay, we need to watch what's going on, what happened. Each process is using how much resources for the CPU and so on. Then if some of the one process use excessively most of the CPU resource, that is a problem. Okay, then inform to the user what does something the law. Okay, that is the accounting information. Nowadays is more important. So such a accounting journal information will be used for billing. So how many of you are using cloud computing? AWS or Google Cloud? Yes. Most of you are using the cloud as a storage. Not only storage, but any service of the computer can be cloud service, which means you don't have to purchase the new and the high-end computer. Instead, going to the AWS and click, then you can create the cluster system. Or you can create the SMP machine, like the 100, the CPU computer within 1 minute. Okay? Then, how can you pay? Then AWS has such an account module. How long you have used this one, and what is the capacity and the CPU time, and so on. So this can be used for nowadays accounting information. And if you are interested in the cloud computing, this is an important part of the operating system. There is a protection and security. I don't think we have enough time to cover the protection and security, but it's getting more and more important part. And not only the operating system, but the network security. So nowadays, I realized the last 2-3 years, if you want to get a job, for example, especially in the United States, see where the U.S. government spend the money. Okay, mostly. Then that means if the government spend a lot of money for the construction, I expect that this time the Donald Trump announced already he will make a lot of job. One of the easiest way to make a job is infrastructure. So mass construction. Okay. So like the highway or the bridge, new bridge, and so on. That is true. It's one of the long time ago, after the Great Depression. So like the New Deal, the policy, they offer spend more money to the specific area where we can create more jobs. So last few years, the Obama government spent a lot of money for the cybersecurity. So they fund something project and some education and a lot. And there will be a lot of opportunity in the cyber security. So protection and security will be more important. Unfortunately, we do not have enough time to discuss, but it is true. Such a cyber security is based on the network security, but it's not always only the network security. It definitely covers such access control in the operating system, okay? And how to protect the data. So data security is also important. So think about if you are interested in such a security part. So there might be huge opportunity. Another part will be definitely big data. Okay? So I'm not sure right now. The new government, the new president already announced that they will erase all the previous work. So, but we will see. But they cannot change it, the trend of such IT. So cybersecurity definitely will be important. There was an issue between Russia also. So So that is the protection and security, but unfortunately in this class we cannot discuss the details about that. But we will see a little bit about how to control the user. Okay, it's access control in terms of operating system. Okay, so these are the things that we have discussed here. So it's better the diagram. So we have this is considered as operating system. Hardware is here. Everything in between. This is considered as the operating system. We have an interface that we discussed a lot, and we have the module to resource, allocate, and manage, coordinate. These are the modules we will see in the classroom throughout the semester. Each chapter we will talk about such how to coordinate, how to manage the resource also. Okay, so this is the command line interface. So command line, what is the interpreter, by the way? Translator. Translate.
High level to high level.
High level to high level. High level to low level.
That's compiler.
Then everything. It's a compiler, actually. So what is a compiler?
Not a compiler.
Not a compiler, but it's a compiler. What is a compiler? So we don't understand the machine language. It's not easy. If you can do that, you can directly code the assembly code. Okay? Even the binary code, if you can do that, even the assembly language is considered as a high level. Considering the binary code, so it's a high level language. Okay? But still, the assembly is not easy to directly code. Instead, we are using the very high level language, Java, C, C++, .NET, whatever. Then they are high level languages close to the human language. We need to compile using software, compiler software that convert into the low level language. Then interpreter is a kind of compiler, but the compiler actually compile the entire program, source program. But interpreter compile line by line, command by command is an interpreter. So it's a kind of compiler, not compiler, but it's kind of compiler. So command line interface is actually such an interpreter. That is the reason CMD is not command line interface. Okay, that's the difference. What about? Is there anyone who installed this? It's very hard to read, but I typed the BASH.
Yeah, the Git bash. Right?
Is it the command line interface or not? This is the Microsoft go back to the command line interface from Windows 10 last year. Okay, it's a huge change, but it was not separated. Instead, from the bash shell is one of the very popular shell programming. This one. Okay, this is also used in the many of the default, the shell programming in the many of the Linux operating system, including